Welcome to E-Commerce Insiders, a journey to success, where we dive deep into the heart of e-commerce, uncovering the secrets behind successful online stores and the entrepreneurs who run them. Hosted by Chris Morano, each episode includes insights, strategies, and inspirational stories designed to guide e-commerce store owners on their journey to building remarkable brands. Whether you're starting up or scaling up, we're here to light the way, sharing the experiences of those who have made their mark. Let's get ready to build your dream brand together.
In this episode of E-Commerce Insiders, A Journey to Success, I dive into the story of Grub Bussio, the CEO of Kitchen Pickleball. Grub shares his evolution from childhood influences in entrepreneurship to launching a leading pickleball bag brand. His story highlights the crucial one of customer feedback, niche market focus, and product quality in building a successful e-com brand. This episode offers a deep dive into the strategies and mindsets behind creating a product that stands out in a very competitive market, emphasizing innovation, patience, and, more importantly, the power of community-driven building. Check out this episode. Hey guys, thanks for joining us on E-Commerce Insiders. Today we have an amazing guest. We have Grub Bussio on, who is here to talk all about his e-commerce store, his brand that he's growing, and past endeavors that's got him to have the ability to get to where he is today. So Grub, thanks a lot for being on the show. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the invite, Chris. I'm excited to chat with you today.
Awesome. So I know we were just talking offline a little bit. Before we get into kind of the weeds of what you're working on now and the brand you're building up, why don't we give the listeners a little backstory into how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I guess I'll just go way back and kind of speed through this pretty quickly. But my father and grandfather are entrepreneurs. They've been businessmen their entire life. So I've grown up around that just kind of being the norm. I know that isn't normal, but that was my normal, seeing my dad have, a large company and a lot of employees and working at his company growing up. So he really taught me to work hard. And I think that was really great inspiration for me when I was, starting off being 12 years old, working at his manufacturing, making concrete pipe in the summers and whatnot. So it felt pretty normal for me to look at myself saying, hey, I think I could, possibly run my own businesses one day or do what my dad does. I think that's super cool. So he taught me to work really hard growing up. And then my mom, actually, when I was in high school, this would have been 2012, she was like, hey, I bought this selling course for Amazon. Do you want to learn how to sell stuff online? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, let's do it. I loved making videos, and I was kind of a computer, not a computer nerd, but I like creating content and doing that stuff with the internet and how simple it was back then. And so I started a course, started selling kitchen thermometers on Amazon just in high school. And I had some it was just kind of that eye-opening experience of wow, you can actually do something with this, e-commerce. I remember having, sounds so cliche, but I was on my senior trip with my family in Hawaii, and I was selling thermometers at the time. And I remember looking at my Seller Central account while I was sitting on the beach, and I did $1,200 that day in cooking thermometers. And I was like, wow, how am I making money sitting here on the beach? It was one of those stupid things where it's just you like a postcard, you see a guy working on his computer, that's kind of how I felt. And that was my first taste into okay, it probably is possible. I ended up getting my account shut down. I was doing something wrong. And anyways, it was kind of a little flash in the pan, but that's when I got my taste into wow, okay, this is definitely possible. If I'm able to do this with the limited knowledge and just kind of following this course, that's pretty cool. And then after that, I ended up working for my dad at his manufacturing facility in Las Vegas for a while. Super hard labor. I freaking hated it. My cousin was running an eyelash extension supply company at the time. And I was like, Zach's doing what I want to do. I need to get working with Zach. So I offered to do his social media for his e-commerce company. And really, that's when my big step into e-commerce really came about, was working with him. That company is called Bella Lash. It's still around today. At its peak, it was the largest eyelash extension supply company in the US, which was really cool. So I was employee number 1 there. And like I said, I learned a ton as far as like doing customer support, talking to people, ordering products, shipping them out, packaging them up. Like we were running the business together, which was super cool.
Yep.
So like that, I look back at that time, like that was absolutely my education into full e-commerce. And after doing that with him for 2 years, we were having a lot of success. And my brother got an opportunity from a friend down in Las Vegas, and he created this. He had this he sewn together this dog backpack for his dog, and he threw his dog on his back, and he got him in touch. My brother got me in touch with him, and said, "Hey, Joseph, that was my business partner's name." He said he has this cool product. I think you might be able to do something with it with your marketing abilities and just like knowing how to get businesses up and running by doing it with Zach and whatnot. So I actually took the chance on that product. I partnered up with Joseph, and we created what is today K9 Sports Sack, which became the world's best-selling dog carrier backpack, which was super cool. So
That's awesome.
that was like my first baby, my first company. I felt confident to dive into it after working with my cousin and doing everything we were doing there. But it was my very first go, like just me and my partner, totally ground up. We didn't even have products made yet. So that's when I really had to start learning and applying and just run my own business and, do the best we possibly could. And luckily it turned out really great. And it's still around today. My business partner still runs it. I sold my half 6 years ago. And so basically to that point, that was my first business, sold it, did incredibly well. The last 5 years, I've been just learning more, trying to, hone in on my skills, learn from other people. And what we're doing right now, Kitchen Pickleball, is we're bringing a new product to the pickleball world. And that's what I'm currently doing. So hopefully that's a little bit of a brief recap over the last, 15 years or so.
Yeah, that's awesome. So funny. Whenever I talk to people who have been doing like online marketing in some form of fashion from like the early 2010s, which is when I started. So I'm 36. I mean, we're talking like 16 years later. Like it was so different, and it was so
different.
I don't know if it was easier because you didn't have the education that you have now, like where YouTube, like there's so much you can find on how to do things. In my experience, it was like more trial and error back then, but it was definitely easier because like you had Facebook, which at the time was just rolling out the advertising. You had email, but there wasn't much else in that time frame, where now it's like, okay, what does budget allocation look like? Are we going Snapchat, TikTok ads, TikTok shop? Yeah. I mean, there's so much saturation.
When you mention like the simplicity of it, when I look back at those, like the good old days, right? Let's call them the good old days when we were able to get purchases for $6, like ridiculous. To me, when I look back on it, I think it's just attention. The attention was just so much more narrow, and the algorithms weren't trying to just feed you garbage all day long. The attention was just so much easier to get. And if you had something decent at that time, oh man, you could just absolutely crush. And man, looking back on it now, I have so many things I would have done differently. But of course I can say that now, but man, getting purchases for $6-7, selling $80-90 products at high margin. Oh man, I wish I could do that again.
with decent attribution. You knew where the sale was coming.
Amazing
from.
Attribution. Yeah, it was accurate.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't ethical, but it worked for businesses.
Right. Yeah, so, the golden era, we'll call it.
It was. It really was.
One of the questions I have, with the difference in your first business in this business is how much thought was put into the initial product and market. So did you guys do a lot of research ahead of time to say, hey, we have a gap here and we think we can figure out how to fill this gap?
Yeah. So what, I would say we built the product, let's talking about K9 Sports Act, the dog carrier backpack, that was very interesting and unique simply because there was nothing else like it. We were bringing something absolutely, completely new, uncharted territories. Like, this product did not exist. So the challenge with that was, in my mind, when I first started, I was like, I had a pug at that time. So I had a dog that fit in the backpack. I carried him around and I was like, this is really cool. Like, I'm able to go on a scooter ride and bring him to the store and walk around the store. Like, he's a pug. He sucks at walking on a leash. He's fat. He gets tired. So for me, I was like, this is a cool product. Like, I'm really enjoying it. Like, the amount of eyeballs that you get walking around too, like, that bag was a freaking billboard everywhere you went, no matter what. If you didn't want attention, definitely don't wear that bag. But so initially I was like, it's very cool for me, but once again, like, I don't know if other people are going to like this. So starting off, it was tons of feedback. Basically, I hopped on Instagram. I just started just guerrilla marketing, just following people, liking people, doing giveaways with people. Like, I just needed feedback based. Like, I needed to see how people were going to react to the bag, basically, is what I was looking for. So when I started seeing positive feedback coming in, I was like, okay, we might have something here. People are like very intrigued. The comments are awesome. People want this bag, basically, is what ended up happening. And we're like, okay, the idea is good. The product is not there yet. The very first product was literally a sack, like a garbage sack on your back. Like, there was no ventilation, the shoulder straps, like, he just pieced it together basically and like called it good because he was just using it, right? So we're like, okay, the product, like, it has to be good and we have to make it good because we cannot have dogs falling off of people's backs. Like, there's risk here. Like, there is literally inherent risk with this type of product. We do not want to be hurting anyone with their dogs on their back and whatnot. So that's when we really started the product development process. And like, it was really just feedback. Like, we just asked people what they wanted, showed them designs, asked if this was good, if they would change it, yada, yada, yada. And basically, like, that's how we like to build products. And it's been the most tried and true way for me, is to just build products with a community. And the community can be large or small. It doesn't matter. Like, if these are people that are willing to buy your product, they're willing to give you quality feedback, you have to listen to it. And I think a lot of people make mistakes with building product. And this even goes for services as well. Like, they think of all of the ideas, but they're just one person, right? Like, that's me thinking when I was going to the grocery store, I was like, man, this is really cool. I really like this, but like, do other people like it? I don't know. So I've always had the mindset of like, you have to build based off of feedback. It's just a tried and true way, and just keep going until people are willing to hand over their credit card for that product. And then when they're doing that is a good indicator that it's a good product. And then when you really know it's a great product is when they start telling their friends about it and start selling it for you. That's like,
super interesting you bring that up, because as you're telling me about how you guys went to bring the bag to market, following you now on Instagram and seeing what you're doing with Kitchen, looks like you're taking the exact same principles and learnings from that first brand and implementing that into Kitchen.
It is the same exact path, but honestly, what we're doing with Kitchen, if anybody wants to follow along, like, we literally build in public. I have nothing to hide. I literally want your feedback. I want honest feedback to make this product the best it can possibly be. So good that you tell your friends about it. Because like, Chris, like, companies get stuck in just trying to sell stuff, and that stuff is garbage most of the time. So they're always trying to acquire the next customer through ad spend. If you can't keep that up, if you don't run a clean business, it's a death trap. Like, you're just going to run it into the ground because the product sucks and people aren't going to be referring other people to buy your thing. So that, like, honestly, building in public with feedback from the community is my way of lowering my risk to as low as I possibly can, right? When you get into business, you want to have the least amount of risk possible. And for me, that, like, asking for feedback as, like, it's almost selfish because it makes my product that much better. but I do it in a way where I'm just trying to build something that somebody would pay money for and absolutely love it. I'm trying to build the best product, and the more people that can give me feedback and talk about the bag, that's a win for me, and it's a win for them because they love the product.
Yeah, exactly. That's so cool. It's interesting. One of the things I've been, I'm just following on LinkedIn all the time and Instagram, and this building in public has become such a more, I don't know, commonly accepted practice where, I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago. One of the gentlemen there is doing the same thing. And like every step of this brand building has been in public on social media. And I think, with the crowdfunding, there were certain ones that like people started, years ago when they first popped on the scene. People had that like community. They're investing in this brand. They're investing. They're following it through. They're waiting for the deadlines and when the drop is coming and all these different things. It's removing the crowdfunding from it, but you're still having the community aspect of it.
That's right.
This gentleman is crushing it right now with what he's doing. It's such a cool way of using social media to your point, get the best product.
It is. And along the way is what I love about it as well. Kind of the cherry on top is along the process, you're kind of building your super fans. You're getting in contact with people that just love what you're doing, that want to support you in a lot of different ways. And I can't tell you, I need to probably start keeping track of this, but the amount of opportunities that are just fed to us because they like how we're doing it. They like how we're doing business. They're invested in the product literally because they pre-ordered it or they just like what we're doing and want to see us succeed. We're just getting opportunities handed to us. People are reaching out in the DMs. I'm not having to do any selling whatsoever. And that's the main key is like I'm a huge just give, just wait till they ask type of mentality now. And that might sound weird coming from like an internet marketer, but it just goes so much further in so many different ways than just asking for people to buy your stuff. People are just going to raise their guard. Like they don't want to be sold stuff. But if you can talk to them and show them and give value and just keep doing that over and over and over again, they'll sell themselves if the product is that good and they see the value in it. So that's like our business model in a nutshell, literally. Build with the community, get feedback, and just give so much value that at some point we'll get value in return, and we really don't even need to ask for it.
And I think from like the people who are following your brand or anybody's, if they're providing that feedback and they say in this example with the bag, we need more, room for a water bottle, for example. And then you go and make that change, they are way more likely to take that consideration that, wow, like this brand literally changed this one aspect of the bag based on my feedback. There's a customer, right? If not, I would be shocked.
It's not even a customer. They're going to be your best promoter. They're going to be your best ambassador. They might sell 100 bags. You never know, So yes, to your point, like when you actually apply changes that people want, you just connected with them on not just a company to customer level, but like person to person, friend to friend. Like they genuinely trust you. And like, I think that's the biggest key is like, they trust you now. You did what you said you were going to do.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love the approach to building a brand that way. If you are looking for a community of fellow e-commerce store owners who you can bounce ideas off of and learn from and answer questions and just be around like-minded people, join our private Facebook group, E-commerce Insiders, where you'll be able to learn from fellow store owners and also be able to provide insights. Join our private Facebook group. There's a link in the show notes below, or just go on Facebook and search E-commerce Insiders. It is a private group, so you will have to answer 3 very easy questions. Also, if you have any intention of selling anything, this group is not for you. Our goal is to provide as much value as possible to the community, not sell anything. Look forward to seeing you there. So this is a very kind of strange question. I remember when I first started creating content 7 years ago, and I asked this because you are the face of the brand right now. I was speaking with another entrepreneur who did a lot of video content. I said, how do you get in front of the camera and look and feel so comfortable? And so he gave me his tip, which was like record a video every day for 30 days. And by like day 7, you're going to feel comfortable. How have you both managed your time and your ability to be a personality on social media? Like, was that a hurdle that you had to overcome, or was that a natural progression?
It's definitely been a natural progression. I'm by no means the smartest person in the room at any given time. But I do love connecting with people and giving value to them. And when I have that mindset, when I'm creating content specifically, that helps me out a ton. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like anybody else, man. I care about what people say. I want to build my brand. I kind of am building like a personal brand by bringing the brand face as well. It's kind of like a weird dynamic, but I'm able to blend the two in a way that is really just real and natural to me. If there's one thing I've learned in marketing and sales, like one key thing that's pretty much always top of mind is just like I don't need to convince people to believe in my stuff. I just need to get them to believe that I believe in my stuff. And when you're genuine and real and approaching it that way, I think it's very easy to do when you just are trying to give first and really just create content that's true to yourself and true to your brand. And it's just practice, really. Like you do have to get comfortable in front of the camera. But honestly, I make content as if I was, had a group of 5 people in front of me and I'm trying to talk to them. That's really like my approach. Obviously there's like the nitty gritty of it. Like, okay, there's a structure, like you have your hook and then what is your call to action and what's the content in the middle? Like how quick are the cuts and stuff like that. But for Kitchen, really, the thing that resonates the most with people is just being relatable and real. Especially in the pickleball community, so that's our angle. Just be real, and people notice that, and they really appreciate it.
That's perfect. So I don't think we've actually talked about it yet. So why don't you tell our listeners like what Kitchen is, what Kitchen Pickleball is, what you guys are doing, and throw a third question or part into that, and it's like what is that differentiator that you've identified for your product?
Yeah. So going back a little bit. So after I sold K9 Sports Sack, I had some friends that were playing pickleball. And this was in 2019. Wow. And I started playing. So I played tennis and stuff growing up in high school and all growing up. So tennis was like, I love tennis. Pickleball was a very natural like progression for me. And I just fell in love with it because you could have really fun games with not very good players. And I was like, wow, this is a unique sport. And here in Utah, it felt like a fad, like no doubt. I was like, this thing's a fad. I don't know about this. Like Utah doesn't have very much influence here. It's super popular here, but like, I don't know. Well, let's see where it goes type of thing. And we actually created a passion paddle brand called Golden Pickleball. It's always just been a very side, project just to keep ourselves in the pickleball world. And so we've had that paddle brand for the last 4 years. So I've really been able to learn about the community and kind of like follow along and see where it's been going just from having that side passion brand really. And when I first got into pickleball, fresh off, coming off the dog backpacks, I was like, who's making the pickleball bag? Who's the brand doing it? And I went online. They were just very generic, your classic, bags that are still popular today. And over the last 4 years, I was like, you know what? One of these other bigger brands, they're going to figure it out. They have way more influence. They I don't know. They just, they're probably going to figure it out. Sure enough, this time last year, I was like still thinking about it because I had this idea in my head. I was like, guys, these pickleball bags are not it. Like, I'm not going to buy any of these. These are such low quality. They're just not up to my standard. I'm not even going to mess with buying any of these pickleball bags because they're just junk. And I went to my partner and I was like, hey, I know the pickleball world really well. I think there's an amazing opportunity here. We know how to build backpacks. My partner in Kitchen, his name's Topher. He helped me grow K9 Sports Sack. So he was one of my team members at K9 Sports Sack. So we've been working together for quite some time. And I was like, dude, we know how to build backpacks. We know how to do this well. Like, this is a huge opportunity for us. There is no brand in pickleball. Like, it might as well be us. Like, let's go for it. So we basically, found the designer that we wanted to work with and the manufacturer and everything like that. So we just kind of started with sketches. And then, from literally day one, it's just been building with the community and feedback. But the mindset behind like why we're pushing Kitchen so hard is we legitimately believe that the standards need to be raised in pickleball. You know this probably just from following pickleball paddle companies. This isn't a knock to anybody, by the way, but there is no barrier to entry for pickleball paddles. They're pretty much print on demand t-shirt companies at this point. Yep. And they're popping up everywhere. They're just, if you have somewhat of decent marketing and sales, you can do all right in it. But we wanted to go the bag route and like just focus on one thing within pickleball, become the bag brand. So that's what we're trying to do. And I think we're doing it pretty successfully so far. But it's pretty unique. We're going to do a lot of unique things in the pickleball space that's pretty different from every other company. Not only in the fact that we're only doing bags, like we will not come out with any other products for the foreseeable future until we have our bags just absolutely dialed. We're known as the best bags. Like I don't even want to touch any other products until, we have that level of quality and like recognition within the brand. So that's our objective really, is to become the bag brand.
That's really cool. And it's so funny because both my parents played pickleball. They're 65 years old. And for Christmas, I was looking at bags to get them, whatever. And, you just go on Google and it's like the random Etsy bag. And you're like, okay, like that's just shipped over. There's nothing in it. So we ended up, my wife and I didn't actually get them the bags. Because like there just wasn't anything there.
Interesting.
In the price point that I was trying to spell. Sorry, mom and dad. I wasn't trying to go too crazy, but
don't go too crazy.
Yeah. And it was interesting. And I follow trends and search trends and different product trends. And to your point, like pickleball paddles have exploded, but so has the competition and like the price point. And are you selling a $180 paddle or the $80 paddle or the third? And it's just like, it almost kind of lost its like luster that was there a couple of years ago.
100%.
Commend you on your forward thinking and like looking at the pickleball as a market and identifying a sub niche within it that you guys can capitalize on.
Yeah, absolutely. And like what I love seeing, and this happened last night. I think this year might be like the year of the bags. I don't know if we're sparking it. I don't know what's going on, but like bags are being talked about a lot right now. And, I love seeing the bigger companies come out with new bags solely because they're focused on 100 different products that they cannot compete with us. We are only focused on bags. 100% of our time and attention goes into bags. So it's basically like, I know we're going to compete at an extremely high level. Like I don't just want to win the bag market. Like I want to absolutely dominate it. And I think to do that, 100% of focus has to go into one thing. And for us, that's bags for a lot of reasons. Like we're comfortable building bags. We have a lot of experience in doing it and whatnot. But I'm really excited to see, how, if we can push other companies to raise the standards for everybody. Not everybody's going to buy our bag. Our bag is not for everybody as well. And I think it's an important lesson that if I could teach this real quick to just,
for sure.
you cannot appeal to 100% of a market. You can't even appeal to 50% of the market. So niche down, build something very specific to, a specific type of player or a style that somebody would like. Like there's this market's huge now. I think I just read a thing. There's like 30 to 35 million pickleball players just in the US. And like, insane. If you have 10,000 orders, 20,000 orders, 100,000 orders, like that's a ton of revenue. And that's just a tiny, tiny slice of the pie. And it doesn't really matter how big your slice is of the pie. It just matters how big the pie is in general. So, you know, I think we're going to do pretty well with it, but like, we're just focusing on a very specific bag for a specific type of player that looks a certain way, that appeals to certain people. And like that, like, I really do believe there's riches and niches everywhere. And this one just happens to be our niche.
For sure. It's so funny. You said you were reading about something the other day about pickleball. I actually get exploding topics sent to me every week. And pickleball bags was on the top of one of the lists.
Really?
And so like even that search volume itself. So like to your point about the year of the bag, based on the email I just received last week, I would agree with that. So let me ask you, in regards to identifying like the riches or in the niches, did you go into it knowing the audience that you were looking to sell to based on the price point you were trying to achieve? Or was it more of, as this bag began to be developed, you said, hey, this is going to be perfect for this person?
Yeah. So most people, I probably never talked about this anywhere else, but I am really sick of mediocrity. I've sold so many different things and I've done so many different projects, especially like in the internet marketing space. And it's just 99% of it's just very mediocre, very subpar. And I'm a huge, personal development, personal excellence seeker. I'm always trying to raise my standards in every area of my life. And that has really translated for me over the last like year and a half, 2 years. And so with the bag specifically, I wanted something that I would personally love to use, love to buy, wouldn't mind spending the extra money on it. If it's going to last, like I'm just like a buy better, type of dude. Like I'm wearing like decked out like Lululemon stuff because I freaking love how it looks and it lasts forever. Like there's something to be said about just spending more for better gear. Like I do think it's a better buy in the long run. And for this bag specifically, I wanted something that didn't look like a pickleball bag, that was totally new in shape and just looked really sleek. I wanted to be able to use it for like my daily bag, throw my laptop in there, all my work stuff, have my paddles ready to go in my car at any given time. So that was like the initial kind of idea behind the bag. And knowing what I know from the bag world, I was like, man, it's going to be an expensive bag. I don't know what the costs are yet to make it, but like it's probably going to be a $250 bag, probably at the minimum, just for what it's going to cost to build and what materials we want to put on it and stuff. So basically I was like, okay, it's gonna be an expensive bag. It's going to look really nice, but like, who is this for? And basically I wouldn't have known this any other way other than being in the pickleball industry with the paddle brand. Okay. And to me, I was like, I want really high quality customers, because with our paddle brand, we got into that vicious cycle of just like, I got to put the paddles on sale. We got to come up with a new offer. We got to do that and just kind of like blow out paddles at like cheap prices. And it's just like, I hate doing that. And like, honestly, the paddles were not great. Like they were really cool design. I think we were the first company making like beautiful quote unquote paddles, like cool. Design before paddles. Recess came in. Yeah. Oh yeah. Way before Recess. I bet they took inspo from us. No doubt.
That's cool.
And, so anyways, I was just like, I just don't want low quality customers, and I don't want to be selling a low quality product. Like this has to live up to my personal standards. Like I want to sell something I'm super proud of. Like I will not sell it until I am very, very satisfied. And I know that other people are going to be satisfied as well. And so, it is more expensive bag. It's $300 when it launches. It's $225 right now. The prices go up to $250 for pre-order in the next week. And, I want people that value my product and are willing to pay a premium, because they're just going to be better customers. I think they're really going to enjoy the bag. and they're going to get a ton of value out of it. So that was kind of my mindset behind like who I'm trying to target. And then even in like that subcategory of like people who will be great customers that like are super passionate, they're more so the serious players as well. They're going to be carrying 3, 4, 5 paddles. They want their balls. They have the lead. They have the lead tape. They have their edge guard tape. They have extra, grips they're carrying with them. They have, kind of all the gear a serious player needs. So it's definitely built for the serious player in mind, but also the serious player that has a high standard. They really value quality stuff and they want it to last a lifetime. So that's kind of like the niche and the niche and the niche. Like that's kind of who we're targeting as far as, our ideal customer demographic.
That's awesome. It's really interesting. I think so. Having the agency here with all of our camera gear and investing in bags, I think over the years, right? Like growing up, you had the JanSport bag. It was like $39.99. Like that was the backpack. Like you just got it. Yeah. But as time has gone on, people have their passions, and most of those, if they're outdoors or whatever, there's some type of bag that goes along with it. And there was a number of camera bags that really like changed that market. Like Peak Design was one right 100%. Off the top of my head that like came 100%. Through and made like functional bags that were extremely quality. And then there was a price point associated with it. Like Peak Design is expensive, but like the quality is there and the functionality is there. And so, people might hear $300, but to your point, if it lasts 10 years, I'd rather buy once instead of buy 8 different a bag every year. I do it with my golf clubs. I buy nice golf clubs because they'll last me over a decade.
Exactly. And I think too, with like, if people have never had a high performance bag for a thing, they're going to see the price point and be like $300, or $400, $500. Like bags can be expensive, but to their points, like it has a very specific purpose and you're going to love using this bag for that thing. Can you imagine playing golf with anything else other than a golf bag?
Right.
You wouldn't. It would be so miserable. Like I don't even know what golf would be like without golf bags. And it's the same thing. Yeah. You should have the same mindset for pickleball paddles and your travel bags and your work. So like you need it to work for what it's working for. And that's where the real value comes from. And honestly, the price point for most people that probably don't know this, like bags are intricate. People are hand cutting. They have to sew a gajillion pieces together. There's a lot of stitches that they're very intricate. So they're expensive to make as well, especially 100% custom built from the ground up bags like ours. Like there's a lot of stuff going on in these bags and they just take a lot of manpower to make.
Yep.
So a lot of the cost comes from literally just making it. And then when you add crazy nice materials like what we do, costs are just high. It is what it is, but they serve a purpose. They're going to last forever and they're super high quality and you're going to love using it.
Well, and to your point, what you just said, all the stitching together, all the different materials, like that then speaks to the quality, which at the end of the day sounds like the number one value of Kitchen Pickleball is the quality and, making sure that this bag is perfect.
Yeah. Quality, super functional, going to last forever.
That's awesome. If you don't mind, I'd love to kind of get into the design iterations that you guys have gone through over the lifetime so far of Kitchen Pickleball. And for any of our listeners who are potentially in like the fashion industry or apparel or accessories, bags, hopefully no one's trying to knock off pickleball bags after this. But I'd love to learn about like the design iteration. It sounds like you're definitely more of the marketing business person. And so to bring that into it would be an interesting ask.
Yeah, people actually ask that a lot when I'm talking about the bag. Like, so did you design it? I'm like, yes, but no. Like, I'm not a designer. I just know how it should kind of be. Like, I'm the worst drawer in the world. Like when I'm drawing with my boy, painting and stuff, like, dude, it's bad. But how I started and like what I recommend is basically we had the idea for the pickleball bag, right? Like, cool. What needs to go in it? We basically reverse engineer it. Let's imagine we have our bag in front of us. what are we putting in there? What are we bringing to the court? How are we using this bag? So we basically had this giant list of, I could probably pull up the list on my notes somewhere from like 2 years ago. And we basically built a big list and we're like, okay, these items are definitely priority. Paddles, balls, eyewear was really big for us. And then basically we had all the ancillary stuff. What else are we bringing? And like, how much space do we realistically need? Like how big of bottles are people bringing to the court? Basically like just a really detailed list of a serious pickleball player is going to basically be minimally bringing X of things. And then from there, we pulled inspo from a lot of different companies and brands as far as like what we wanted the brand vibe to be, the bag, kind of like how, if you want to make it look like rugged, sleek, bright, dull. So basically like pulled a bunch of inspo together, almost like a Pinterest board, right? Like I think we literally put a Pinterest board together and sent it to our designer. We're like, hey, we love the vibe of like all of this. And then he's like, okay, cool. What types of like shapes do you want it to be? And like, we gave him some inspo. We're like, hey, we really like this bag because of this and this. And then we kind of started getting into like the functionality of it as well. And we're like, well, we need it to like stand upright because court surfaces are super rough and we don't want like them just tipping over. Like we want this bag to be basically like really presentable. That was important for me. Like when I pull up somewhere, like, I don't know, I just want to like present myself in a nice way. And that sure. It, trickles down to like, like what kind of car you would drive, or like, for me, that's bag. Like what type of bag am I bringing into this meeting? Right. So I wanted the presentation to be really cool. So I was like, I want the paddles to be like shown and like the balls. And so like we had like initial ideas, and then he basically sketched it out. He went through a bunch of different sketches with different shapes and stuff like that. And we just kind of kept narrowing it down. We're like, hey, we like this one, we like sketch C, but we like, this part of sketch A. So move sketch A into sketch C, kind of blend these two together. So basically he just started sketching, and he's an amazing designer as well. Like if there's one thing I could recommend, like work with people who are very good at what they do. It's well worth their money. Like for you guys as an agency, like if you guys are great at what you do, like people should not have a problem paying the money for great work. So just pay people. Like if you're going to do something, like do it well, Yeah. So basically from there, we just started getting our sketches, and that's honestly where the feedback started. Once we had that like initial sketch, I was like, cool, we got to build the group now. We got to start the Instagram. We got to start like showing this to people. Cause once again, like the more feedback we can get, the better this bag is going to be. And basically we've just been on that trajectory this entire time.
That's awesome. Really, really interesting. And never designed a bag or anything other than like websites.
Yeah.
But the planning and then how many changes have been made since you then took the Instagram and started going live with that?
Oh my gosh. I think bag wise, I think we're on 13 now.
Wow.
For like iterations.
Sure.
Between sketches and like physical samples, I think the sample that we're getting next week is 13, which is crazy.
And is that the go-to-market sample?
Yeah, that's the go-to-market. Yep.
Very cool. That's awesome. So, congratulations. 13 iterations later.
Yeah. And honestly, I hate to say it, but I think most people would have been happy at 2 or 3 and probably launched the bag there.
Yeah.
And like you just can't skip time. You can't cheat time. Great things take time. And I was okay building this bag for a year, because building physical products that are very good is extremely leverageable. This bag should sell for the next 10, 15 years, so right. I'm okay spending a year making it right.
Yep, absolutely. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, that's a lesson I've learned over the last 5 years too. Selling a company, thinking you're all super cool, thinking you can just dive into anything and get it going super quick. Like, dude, it's just not true. It's not true. Right. You gotta stick it out. You just gotta give it time.
Yeah, absolutely. Could not agree more.
Yeah.
With then the conversation of time. So Kitchen, you guys, 13th round coming next week. What is like the go-to market strategy now? And like, where do you see the vision for Kitchen going? And I know it might be early because you haven't actually gone to market yet. But where do you see this brand going in the coming years?
Yeah, so what I think is going to happen, and I only have insight into this because I've done it before. What I think is going to happen is we're going to send these bags out. We're gonna get the bag into as many customers' hands, and we're sending them to reviewers. Basically, like, once again, we want to get the bags out there.
Yeah.
And the whole objective with taking a year of building these bags and making them as good as possible to go to market is we hope they're so good that each one of these customers basically becomes a promoter for us because they just genuinely love the product. It's a unique product, and something I'm really excited about because I've seen this with my dog backpacks is remember how I said like you're like a walking billboard when you have that thing on going to the grocery store or wherever. It's going to be the same thing with this pickleball bag. People are using this product in public. They have very close proximity to players at courts. It's a very social sport. So basically I know when bags are out there, the organic sales and promotion side of things is going to be really, really big for us. And that's why I'm so keen on creating a product that's worthy of talking positively about and telling their friends how great this bag is and that they should go get one. Like that's my marketing plan right there. I know the digital stuff super well. I can run all the ads and do that crazy well, but like that to me is where the biggest ROI and effect comes into play into scale because, like I said, like people can get stuck with like not having enough ad creative and they get too in their heads with like, oh, my ads aren't working. I need to try to just keep selling them. It's like, no, you just need a better product that other people will sell for you. That's what you should be focusing on when you're building your product. So yeah, the go-to-market strategy is basically get as many bags out there as possible. And when the bags are out, they should be so good that the organic sales literally just start coming in. And
it's awesome.
Like that's it. It's very simple. I know it sounds very simple, but
no, I mean, I think if the product speaks, hopefully the product speaks for itself and the social aspect of pickleball. We've actually done some video and production shoots in that, industry, and the amount of people who were kind of like huddled up around each other, like talking about what paddle they're using in this. And it wasn't like a bragging, but it was definitely like a, hey, check this out type atmosphere. So I completely understand. I've seen it firsthand, what you're referring to in the social side of the sport.
Yeah. And I know it's going to happen because I've already have seen it happen personally. I'll take the bags to the courts. So I'll go to the clubs. I'll be showing it to one person and literally like 5 or 6 other people will just like come in. And then all of a sudden you have like this circle of people that are like, oh, it doesn't do this. This is really cool. Like it just like that just happens. That's just how pickleball goes. When you're not playing, you're talking and you're socializing. You're talking about gear. You're showing off your new paddle. Like that's just going to happen. So like, I really hope this product is very good, that people are just raving about it, because that is the like word of mouth sales is the most powerful marketing tactic ever. It is. Very it just cool. Is.
It definitely is. So, and especially, I mean, a single product store with a, the lifetime value is basically going to be that one purchase unless someone's buying it as a gift. So from the margin, profit, revenue side of things, it's to your point at the very beginning, you can't continue to pay for a customer acquisition for every single sale. So you have to get a little more creative on how to increase sales without increasing ad spend or fixed costs in order to, maintain the profitability of the business.
Yeah, that's right. And like, honestly, you're just going to scale way faster if you have people selling it for you. Like that's just how it works. It's just another channel, so to speak, right? Just that organic side coming in. And overall as well, like something we'll track overall. I'm more interested in the overall, like the customer acquisition cost and blending that with ad spend, because there is such an organic side. So that for KPIs standpoint, blending I'm not just going to be looking at triple whale and just being like Google and Facebook. Like, yes, I will look at that because that has to fit within a range, but I'm more interested in just total blended customer acquisition costs.
Yeah. Like, so looking at things from more of like a MER standpoint. or
Yeah,
contribute.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's the shift has to start there. I mean, triple oil is great. I still think sometimes that's wrong to nerd out for, it's like you have to look at either contribution margin or MER to identify just like the lifeblood of the business. I mean, contribution takes all the variable costs out of it. MER is the overall, and just understanding those numbers to look at the success of the business instead of saying like this one ad made this much. You just don't know anymore. You don't know.
You just don't know. And honestly, like if you have an ad that crushes, like, great. I hope everybody does, because it's really cool when that happens. But it's even better when your product is awesome and each customer brings in a new customer for you. And when you're doing that tandem together, like you can scale very, very quickly. So that's how we hope this all unfolds. I think it will. But once again, it just comes back to, the word of mouth sales are only going to come from if the product is worthy of talking of and telling your friends about. So that's why we've been so obsessed with just getting this right. And like, I don't want to disappoint anybody. I know we're going to disappoint some people at some time, but like, generally speaking, I just want this product to be very, very loved,
That's awesome. I think that's a perfect way of wrapping this up. I have one last question. What advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out in e-com? For any of our listeners who are like, dude, I just want to get started somewhere. What would that advice be now going through it a couple times?
Yeah, I would first identify who you want to sell products to. I would choose, if there's something you're into that you can, be relatable with, like if you're into rock climbing or mountain biking or anything. I think there's room to improve products in any industry. There always will be. If that wasn't the case, then we would have, topped out as a civilization probably a long time ago. But I think there's room to improve in any niche. And I think if you can work on something that you're interested in, like it's hard. Being an entrepreneur, starting your stuff is hard. It is not for everybody. But if you can narrow down and say, hey, I'm going to build a new thing or a better thing for rock climbers, and it's a harness or a rope or something, and just get really specific, and just basically you need to qualify yourself in one area to qualify yourself to expand and grow. So like get very, very specific in who you want to sell to, because you're going to know how to talk to them. You're going to know where they're hanging out. It might be Reddit, it might be Discord, it might be Twitter. Like you just got to go where those people are and identify like how you can just start talking to people. And like what a lot of people don't understand is like in the e-commerce world, they're like, oh, you just like sell stuff online. It feels like magic money. But like, no, at the end of the day, people are giving you that money. You have to sell something to a person. It's not, and like going back to that whole thing is like, you can't sell product to everybody. Like even the largest companies in the world, Microsoft, Apple, not everybody has an iPhone. Not everybody uses a Microsoft product or whatever it is, So I think you just have to qualify yourself in understanding somebody you want to sell to, build a product for them, ideally with them as well, and try to solve a pain point or a problem. Like really, at the end of the day, like businesses are really to solve problems for people and build value. And the bigger the problems you can solve, the bigger the paycheck you can potentially get. So solve problems for a very specific person and build products with them. And I think it's kind of hard to go wrong. And also give it time, give it a year, give it 2 years, give it 3 years. With K9 Sports Sack, a lot of people thought that was like an overnight success, but truth be told, I didn't make any money doing that for probably a year and a half. And then it started going crazy at that point. And honestly, like I going back to like choose something you're interested in, like that sucked. It was basically like you get excited, it sucks, and that's where most people quit. And then that next up is where people really can grow. But most people, they give it a good run. They say, it's not working. It's not for me. I'm having a hard time. Quit here. It's basically like you just giving up at a boss stage. Like you got to get past that first boss, and then you got to continue on your journey,
Exactly. Actually, I forget what it's called, but there's a psychological name for that learning process.
Yeah, there's a chart. There's a chart. Yeah. You've seen it before. Yeah, there's a chart. I can't remember what it's called either, but like that, like excitement, trouble time, that next bounce up is where you really succeed. But there's a time gap within that whole process. And most people they just give up, man. People it's hard. It's hard.
It's hard on all fronts.
Hard.
It's hard on the family. On all fronts. It's hard on the person doing it. It's hard on the kid. It's hard on all of it.
It is hard. I mean, would you agree? Like, choose something don't have like a passion for, but like it needs to be profitable too. But like, if you have an interest in that thing, I think those really sucky times, you can get past it a little bit easier, just because you're interested.
100%. Yeah, I mean, that's why we only do e-commerce here, because like this is just what we love doing. We love figuring it out. We love working with different products. My e-com ventures in the past, like not much passion and not a ton of success. Like they kind of worked, but like it wasn't, it was just a money maker, really.
Yeah, I've had tons of those too. You're just like,
And so like then you're just more willing to also stop it and give up. You're like, okay, I'm done. Like this is just over.
Yeah, like it's not working. But honestly, if you look back on those projects or whatever, I bet if you kept going for another year, 6 months, year and a half, you probably could have found some pretty good success.
For sure.
I know for sure, looking back on past projects, I'm like, if I stuck around with that one for 6 months more, it's probably a different story. But I also just didn't love doing it.
Right. And that was the key. I just was over it. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Whereas, these others are definitely more, I don't know, it just gives you a different drive to keep figuring it out.
Yeah, it does. It does. So.
Awesome, Grub. Well, thank you so much. This has been so valuable. It's been great speaking with you. Where can everybody follow you on Instagram? Where can they get to the website? Give them the whole rundown of where they can find a Kitchen Pickleball bag.
Yeah, so socials are just Kitchen Pickleball. Kitchen is spelled KTCHN. So that's how you spell kitchen. And then it's just kitchenpickleball.com. But that's where I'm mostly on socials these days, is literally building that brand. So if you want to follow along and get some inspo, we love making new content and trying new things always. So hopefully you can follow along and get some inspo.
All right, awesome. We'll leave all that information in the show notes and in the description. And I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been great speaking with you.
Yeah, you too, Chris. We'll connect later.